If you're feeling lost, anxious, or uncertain about your future, then you're not alone. I've made many a video about the quarter-life crisis in the past year, so welcome in to a channel which explores this concept. When you're experiencing a quarter-life crisis, you're questioning who you are, what you believe in, how much you care about money, what you want to do for a career, who to stay friends with, and just generally contemplating the meaning of life. And it can be kind of stressful. I personally feel like I'm still experiencing a lot of these things, but last year in particular, I quit my job as a management consultant and made this transition from the corporate world into the YouTube world, and it was really difficult. You might say it was the peak of my quarter-life crisis. I was just feeling a lot of uncertainty. So in this video, I'm going to share a few things that will hopefully help you deal with your quarter-life crisis. So the first thing is to embrace the squiggle. When I was a student, I felt like after university, I had to pick one thing and I would go on this single path all the way through my life, be doing one career, one job, and that choice was weighing on me a lot at university. But that's not how the world works anymore. Your life and your career is likely to wind and turn in lots of different ways that you can never expect. But it used to be the case that you would stay in one thing for a long time, potentially your entire career, 50 years, and there's a legacy effect of that hanging over students today. You feel like the choice you make determines everything. But embracing the squiggle is learning to understand the idea that your career is not going to be a straight line, it's going to be a squiggle. Conveniently, I got the term from this book, The Squiggly Career by Helen Tupper and Sarah Ellis. Essentially, the idea is that in the modern world, you cannot really predict beyond a few years where you are likely to be. And so you want to set yourself up for success by learning to embrace this different type of path. And the lessons from the book are also appropriate for just navigating life in general. We want to get out of this mindset of thinking we can predict our future, have it all laid out ahead of us 5, 10 years, or 20 years in advance. We want to get out of that mindset and start thinking about building career capital, building identity, and figuring out what it is that we like doing with our time. And that will help you develop a strong sense of who you are and what you believe in, and that will help you navigate your uncertain future. The second thing is reframe your problems. Whenever I'm evaluating my career and thinking about the choices that I have to make, I always have to remind myself that I'm in a really privileged position. A big part of what leads to a quarter-life crisis is just having too many options, having option paralysis. But actually, that's a really good problem to have. I'd rather have too many choices and be spoiled for choice than not have enough. So it's important to try reframe your problem of, I have so many options, I don't know what to do with my life, it's too overwhelming, there's too many things, as I have all these options and I can find something that ticks all the boxes, like be meaningful, give me purpose, make me happy, earn me money, and all of those things, because 100 years ago, 50 years ago, those things weren't possible, but today they are. And that's why people are experiencing the quarter-life crisis, because the world is so full of options and abundance, and it can be totally overwhelming. You've got to appreciate that there is privilege in having a quarter-life crisis. I'd also rather be having a quarter-life crisis than a midlife crisis, so there's that going for you too. They do say that experiencing a quarter-life crisis right now reduces the risk of having a midlife crisis by roughly 100%. By the way, if you're enjoying this video, you might like my weekly newsletter for creators. Every week I share something from my personal journey as a creator, some interesting insight that relates to being a creator, and lots of useful links and stuff like that. So if you're interested, the link is in the description. The third thing is seek help. Whenever I was thinking about my life and worrying about my uncertain future, it was always an internal conversation that I was having. I would go round in circles thinking through big decisions, overthinking things, worrying about things that I didn't need to worry about, and it was never very productive. But one of the best things you can do is actively seek help for whatever problem it is that you're having. For me, it was particularly related to work and career and money and things like that. But for you, it might be related to where you're going to live, or who you want to be friends with, or whether you're going to travel the world, or that kind of thing. Whatever the decision is that you're trying to make, at the very least, talking with friends about it and talking with family about it can be really useful. But even better is trying to speak to people who are going to be able to give you more specific advice. There are a few options that you've got. One is going to your university career counselor. They'll be able to help you talk about your problem and break down some options for you. But better than that is finding someone who is living a lifestyle or has a job or career that you might potentially want down the line. Because one of the anxieties that you have with a quarter-life crisis is not knowing what your life might look like and what the different options might end up looking like for you. So if you can find people either that you know or different people online who are doing things and living life in a way that you might want to live, having conversations with them and asking them specific questions like, what is your lifestyle like? What bits of it do you enjoy? What doesn't work for you? What does work for you? And finding out more information about that kind of life, because then you can piece it together in your imagination. What might it look like for you? One example of this is when I was a student, I thought I might want to be a psychologist, and I really entertained the idea for a while, and mostly it was just a conversation in my head. But eventually I plucked up the courage to ask a family friend who actually was a psychologist for a phone call, and we had like a 20-minute conversation about what she did, what it was like, what the process was like to get there, and it made me realize I didn't want to go through that process of becoming a psychologist. But had I not had that conversation, that internal battle that I was having around whether to choose it or not would have just continued. So seek out individuals who can give you specific advice. The fourth thing is this idea of generating clarity. So what that means is when you go through your life, you expect to have all the answers given to you and that you expect to just know what it is that you want. But actually, that's just not how it works. And it's not how it works with any part of your life. You never know what you want until you've experimented, until you've tried things, and until you've got some feedback from those experiences about what it is that you actually are after. And it's the same with your life. If you're uncertain about what things you want to do, then you need to go out and explore. Clarity over your future is something that you will generate over time by doing things, by trial and error, by experiencing things, and then over time reflecting on those experiences, defining what's meaningful to you and defining what you enjoy. One of the reasons I like making YouTube videos is because I've defined for myself that I like sharing things that I have learned and helping others solve problems that I've had quicker than I was able to solve them. I find that process meaningful, which is why I do this. But I had no idea that I would enjoy that until I actually took the plunge, started a YouTube channel, started making videos, and over time I was able to generate that clarity that I like this process. So generating clarity is a core concept that you have to get into your head, that you will only know how you feel about things once you have tried them and once you have reflected on them as well. And it's a constant process throughout your life. You've never just found clarity forever. You have to constantly seek it out and generate it over time. The fifth thing is be action biased. So I mention this a lot on this channel, but it's because it's really, really important. It is so tempting with life problems, with personal problems, with any kind of anxiety to just think about it, to just have a conversation in your head, to go round and round in circles in your mind and not actually do anything. And that was how I used to be. I used to just worry about things, and I used to just be anxious about things, and I used to just never actually do anything about it. But slowly over time, I realized that the people who moved fastest in life were the people who actually did stuff, who shortcutted the circuit from in their mind around overthinking to action. They either didn't actually overthink that much, or they interrupted their overthinking and just started doing things. And since I've internalized that principle and realized that you learn so much more from doing things and trying things than you do from just thinking about things, my life has improved so much. You can solve this problem of the quarter life crisis by going out and doing things and figuring out what things there are actually for you out in the world. But being action biased also includes doing things like journaling or having conversations with people about your quarter life crisis. It just means not thinking exclusively about it, or exclusively thinking about it. And the sixth thing is read self-help books. So I was skeptical of self-help books, and I think the term self-help is kind of annoying and self-indulgent and all of that kind of stuff. But personal development is a genuinely useful thing, and I really believe in it, because I think since I have become a advocate for personal development myself and read lots of books in this kind of space, I have been able to help myself so much better. And the one that relates to the quarter life crisis most is called Designing Your Life. And it is basically a manual for how to approach this problem of what the hell do I want to do. The tagline is called Build the Perfect Career Step by Step, but it's really more of a guide to your whole life and how to figure out what it is that you want to do, which direction you want to head, what things are meaningful to you, who you are as a person, all of those kind of really big questions. It gives you a framework and a clear methodology to answering those difficult things. It was written by 2 engineers, so it's from this point of view of people who are very logical and very methodical. And it's not this kind of waffly approach to the quarter life crisis. It's this step-by-step guide to solving how to figure out the answers to these big questions, which they've taken from the world of engineering. So they've used the same process that's used for coming up with really innovative engineering solutions to things to the problem of figuring out what it is that you want to do with your life. Because when you need to come up with an innovative engineering solution, you have to come up with loads of ideas, you have to refine those, you have to then pick one, you have to then test it and iterate it over time. And it's exactly the same when it comes to your life and to solving the quarter life crisis problem. It's coming up with loads of different ideas about things that you could do. It's about testing a few of them. It's about refining that and iterating over time and continuously experimenting and refining. And that's the process that will help you design a life that you love over time. You don't just think your way out of a quarter life crisis, you design it, you build it, you actively engage with it as a problem. And you think, okay, I have this problem of an uncertain future. How am I going to approach it? And this book has some answers to helping you solve this problem, but Squiggly Careers, which I mentioned earlier, The Pathless Path by Paul Millard, and various other books, they all help you understand this problem and learn more about yourself. And so I would highly recommend that you read more personal development books and more self-help books as well. If you're interested in watching a video specifically about some of these books, then click on this video here called 5 books to read if you're feeling stressed about your career. Otherwise, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.